All right. So the first thing that we're going over is knives. Obviously, like one of a chef's like most important tools. Um, Here we go. All right. So I figured this is going to be a camera where I can show you a lot of stuff. So this is basically how I would set up my station every day, at least like with my knives. Always have a deli tray with a nice cloth underneath, so you're not like dinging up the deli tray too much. And I would always have my slicer slash chef knife, very long, very sharp knife with an edge guard because I use a one-sided knife. I might be able to show you better on this. So a one-sided knife, you see the edge here, right? Very very sharp edge, very steep. On the other side, there's barely anything. So this is basically as sharp as a knife can get. Is a one-sided knife. It's just flat on one side and then razor sharp edge going into it. So that's the slicer. Utility knife, small utility knife for paring vegetables or small tasks like chopping shallots and just like little tiny stuff where you don't need like a huge chef knife to do all that stuff. This is my Santoku blade, which is used. I use it like a chef knife. I use it for like every project that doesn't really need like a specialized kind of knife like this. So you can see like the difference in the blade. Like this would be used for like if you were taking bones out of a fish, maybe. Where this is like the blade is way too big, and you're gonna ruin the fish if you do it like that. So this is all about just like super fast like herbs or breaking down potatoes or fennel or whatever it is. Always a good pair of kitchen scissors. These ones are cool because they break apart, so you can send them through the dishwasher. The handles are rubberized; they're not gonna like break or crack or anything. This is good for like trimming little baby herbs or cutting, just anything that you would want to cut that a knife maybe wouldn't make sense for, like butcher's twine or something like that. So that's kind of a brief overview of the knives that I use on like a very regular basis. You can you can cut bones like you can cut the back out of a chicken, or you can cut the spine out of a fish with these very easily. And then the honing steel. This is a black ceramic honing steel, and this is just like you see. This is like the chef move, right? Where you see like they're like, all right, I'm ready. I'm super ready for like my I'm ready. But this just keeps basically anytime you cut down, right, you're pushing the metal apart. So think of it kind of like this. Every time you put the knife into the surface, you kind of break apart the edge of the metal, and it kind of bends and twists until it kind of like frays apart. This helps keep those little pieces kind of back on the knife. It actually knocks some of them off, so it keeps the edge a lot truer, so that you keep your knife very sharp during your workday. Now, once a week or so, this isn't soaked or anything. Oh, that's dog. Dog doesn't know what I'm doing. You couldn't see him. This would be soaked in water for about 20 minutes, and this is used to like redefine the edge on your knife. So this is a whetstone. This is like probably 6,000 grit. It's very smooth. And I'll give a knife sharpening demonstration at some point. But yeah, definitely something if you're into having really good knives. I mean, these are pretty expensive knives that I want to maintain for years and years and years. This is the way to do it. All right. Let's see, other tools that we're gonna need. Pots and pans. That's pretty easy. That's I actually completely forgot to bring over all of my pots and pans this evening because I am Scrub Lord #1. but pretty self-explanatory. Cast iron pan. Don't think my parents actually. This one's pretty good. Pretty good example. So this one's enameled. Usually they're not. You can just buy like a regular, like flat metal black cast iron pan, and if you season it properly, it'll become as non-stick as this. And I'll show you guys that when we get into actually like cooking things every week and like making awesome stuff. Example of a saucepan. This would be like a medium saucepan. Not a great example, again, because these aren't mine, but you know, good for reducing sauces. It's nice and wide on the bottom, so you have a nice surface area. You're not gonna scorch your sauce if you use the right heat. Let's see, small and large sauté. I think this would be the best example of a very large sauté pan, right? So people get skillet and sauté mixed up. Sauté pan has flat sides. A skillet will have more rounded sides. So a skillet or like a French pan is very different than this. This has like, I think the reason, I don't know, I'm kind of out of practice, but the reason this has flat sides is so that when you're cooking things, all of the heat comes up the sides and out of the pan, so that you get like a really nice sear or crust on whatever you're making, instead of steaming it. Let's see, stock pots. I don't have a stock pot to show you, but you know, big pot for making stock and sauce. Pretty easy. Let's see. I think everybody knows what a food processor, a blender. Things that I'm looking forward to getting in the future is a cryovac sealer, so like a vacuum sealer, and an immersion circulator, which is a piece of equipment that keeps a water bath circulating at a constant temperature. Yeah, you guys like the coffee pot? It's full. It's full just for you. Come on over and have some coffee. So it keeps this water bath at like a constant temperature. So say you want to cook, I don't know, let's say turnips. You want to cook turnips like super perfectly. You seal them in a bag and then drop them in this really warm bath of water. You can put butter and herbs and all that stuff in the bag and then just cook it very gently. It's like poaching, like a very gentle kind of cooking method, but instead of doing things in water where you leach out a lot of flavor, it's only like the only flavor is like whatever you put in the bag. It's an amazing way to cook vegetables. So hopefully at some point I'll be able to get one of those. Sorry, the camera's just freaking out with autofocus. Yeah, fish is done in a bag sometimes like that. It's really good. What else? All sorts of things. I think the best steak I've ever had was cooked in a bag like that, and then during service just cut open the bag and then sear it really fast on like a super hot pan or like a super hot cooktop. One of the best steaks I've ever had. Just like the thinnest little crust, like, you know, because you got to have the seared crust on steak. But then it was like perfectly medium rare all the way through, like the entire piece of meat. It was amazing. So then I wanted to talk about kind of the way that I cook and the way that I set up my station. So I didn't really have a camera for this, so we'll just use this one. This one. All right, so it's going to look a little messy, but that's okay. All right, so basically what we have, the way I set up my station, always have two kinds of oil. Obviously I haven't filled these yet because I'm scrub lord number one. Olive oil in the small bottle, canola oil for like searing and kind of general purpose lubricant in the larger bottle because you use more of that during service. A bane, which is basically a ceramic pot. Just really, you know, still getting used to keybinds. This holds your tools, and the reason I use ceramic is because it keeps the water inside very hot for a long time, kind of like a thermos. So that, if you're going from the stove where you're like, basting something in a pan and you have like, a bunch of crap all over your spoon, a little dip in the old pool will get it sorted out. Tweezers. I always have large tweezers for grabbing pieces of meat or vegetables, especially on a flat pan or a grill, and you like easily flipping things on a grill, and a perforated spoon. This is like anytime you're grabbing something out of water, you don't want to like reach your hands in or like deal with like picking up a bunch of the liquid. You just want what's ever in the jar or the pan or whatever. Cooking with Cam in the bedroom. The most important ingredient in the world, salt. Always have a big bowl of salt. Salt. This should be kosher salt. It has absolutely the best flavor, has the best texture. It's the easiest to handle. The iodized salt is almost like sugar, where like the particles are really, really small, or the crystals are really small. So I always use kosher salt in a very large, easily accessible bowl. There you go. Finishing oil. So this does, these bottles. This is just easy to like spray, squirt things into a pan like really easily, in like very precise amounts. That's why I use squeeze bottles. Plus they get handled a bunch. This is basically like when you're plating something and you just want like a tiny little drizzle of whatever oil you want to put in here. Chestnut oil, walnut oil, pumpkin seed oil, truffle oil. It's really good olive oil. All good things. Pepper grinder. This one's cool because it sits like this. It has a little top. Good to go. One thing that I don't have, because I knew that I wasn't going to be cooking this evening, is a towel folded really nicely, and then just damp enough to wipe your surface down and kind of, make sure that surfaces are always clean and debris free, so that your station where you're working looks really nice. Unlike this, because there's all sorts of crud everywhere. Cool. All right, what's next? I'm always going to wear a chef coat and an apron and 2 side towels, just because I want to do this very properly, and I want to kind of give you guys an idea of a little bit more of like what a restaurant can be like. No, slideshow lag. Why? I've dropped 0 frames. Which is crazy because I'm on Wi-Fi. I've had like a really solid connection the whole night. Yeah. I'm not wearing a hat. Yeah, well, I mean, the last 2 jobs I've had, I haven't worn a hat in the kitchen. Just keep your hair really nice. That's why I took a shower, I cut my hair, I put some product in it, so it doesn't fall out. Oh, those tournaments are still going on? Yeah. Okay, so the next thing I talked about, cutting board. Cutting board is one of the absolute best things that you could ever buy, is investing in like a really nice cutting board. So mine is, I don't even know kind of what it is, but it's thick, it's heavy as shit, and it's super easy to take care of. And the thicker the board, the less it's going to warp, especially under like moist conditions. Granite cutting board, maple. I mean, yeah, it could be maple or cherry or something. Yeah, just chop down a really big tree and then cut it into a cutting board size. But yeah, the thicker it is, the less it's going to warp. And you should always have a semi-damp towel underneath. That kind of helps the board stick to the surface, so that if you're like, you're dealing with like some sort of fish and you're pulling it down the cutting board, your cutting board's not doing this, and like, you're almost cutting yourself. So moist towel, or some sort of kitchen towel or cloth underneath. Deli trays. This is one thing I think one of the most underrated pieces of equipment that I have is just, it's like a McDonald's deli tray. But it's really helpful for like going to the fridge and gathering like everything you need at once, right? Everything you need. So you open the fridge once, you make one trip, you carry it back to your station, you put it there, then you have everything you need, just right there. Cleanup is also really, really easy with these. You can slide your cutting board out a little, just kind of, get every little thing from your station like on the deli tray, and then that you just take to dish, and clean it. Clean up that way. Super easy breezy. Yeah. Well, I had to make it some sort of cooking game, right? Right? Has to be. Common kitchen terminology, like I don't know if I want to go over this now or cooking coach. Oh, awesome. Thank you. I guess I will go over it now. And every single time that we use one of these things, be it like a julienne cut or fresh black pepper, or I'll go over each term as it comes up again. But things to know: mirepoix. Again, here let's let people. There's the Dropbox link to things that I'm going over right now. So we're kind of down in the bottom part, but mirepoix is generally referred to as the French term for sauce vegetables. So that's 50% onions, 25% carrot, and 25% celery. I use a modified version where I don't use celery because celery is really bitter, and I don't like it. Dice, obviously, is just making squares out of different vegetables. I'll go over how to cut every single one of these shapes when we're cooking something that uses them. So potato dice is going to be in like boeuf bourguignon, like beef stew. Brunoise vegetable is going to be in a soup probably, or like a garnish, maybe like a sauce. Sauce gribiche would be a good way to use Brunoise vegetables. Obviously, medium dice, large dice, we'll go over sizes as it comes up. Bâtonnet is like a French fry cut, pretty much, like long, skinny. Julienne is taking a bâtonnet and then cutting it very finely. So it's very thin strips of, bell pepper or onion or anything like that. Bias is just a way to cut, and it's so, you have straight cuts. Bias cuts are just on an angle. So you have like a nicer shape to your vegetables on the plate. It obviously doesn't make them taste any different, but let's see. Fine herbs. So it's not fines herbs. I guess it's fine herb. Is parsley, chervil, chives in equal parts. Tarragon as well, in equal parts, chopped very finely. Unless you're using, if it calls for like whole fine herbs, that would be just like a sachet, a tied bundle of those herbs. Moving on to sachet of herbs is something that you usually add to. Nice stuff here. Add to a stock or a sauce, or even when roasting like a piece of meat. So basically tying a bundle of, it's usually thyme, parsley, chervil sometimes, wrapped in a nice bundle with butcher's twine, and that can be thrown in to add flavor to other things, usually added with like crushed garlic and black peppercorns. EVO and EVOO, that's extra virgin olive oil, or extra virgin oil, depends on what you get. Like you get extra virgin grapeseed oil, and then extra virgin olive oil is what we're going to be using a lot of to glaze vegetables and lightly saute things, finish pasta dishes, soups. So good to have on hand. How often? Yeah, it's gonna be once a week. It's gonna be every Saturday, as long as I can. It may change depending on my upcoming schedule in the new year, but yeah. So every Saturday at I want to shoot for 6. I had a little bit of a late day this today, and started at 7, but I want to go 6 o'clock every Saturday for a while. Let's see. Canola oil is a really high smoke point oil used generally in the big bottle for searing and like high temperature, like really fast cooking kinds of things. FBP is fresh black pepper. I call it BP sometimes. Not the kind that spills oil in the ocean, but the other kind that makes food taste good. BTAB is bring to a boil, also known as BTAB. No, see, it's not jeans though. This is not a jean apron. It's linen. It's linen. It's the shit they wear at French Laundry, man. Mise en place? Oh, you guys talking about mise en place already? Well, that's a term we should all know. And I didn't put on the thing. I was talking about mise en place. So mise en place translates to things in place. So a good example would be this. So this would be like my stationary mise en place. This would be like salt, oil, bane, finishing oil, pepper. That's considered mise en place. Now there's another bit where it refers to the ingredients that go into any project. So, okay, I'm making, let's say, chicken stock, right? So I need X amount of chickens broken down in these ways. I need this much vegetable broken down in these ways. I need this much herbs broken down in this way. That's mise en place as well. So it's just things in place, getting things very organized. How's your tip? No. Mise en place. And the last few terms just refer to cooking methods. So saute, I think we all know what saute is. Just high, very high, usually high heat, very quick way to usually cook vegetables. Poach is going to be a very wet. God, Sin's going to have too much fun with this. It's a very wet cooking method. Usually, like poached eggs are cooked, just eggs cooked in a large amount of water that is just below a simmer. Roast usually refers to some like a very dry heat, usually in the oven, but you can pan roast things. That's just usually started as a saute, and then the temperature is reduced just a little bit, but it's a very high heat, usually longer cooking method than sauteing. Or searing or something like that. Grilling, we all know what a grill is. That is an open slat way to cook with fire underneath. There has to be fire, live fire underneath, or it's not really grilling. You can have like a grill pan, but that's a way to make marks on food, which I don't really do. I don't play that game, huh? Marinade is a wet way to impart flavor. Broiling is a roast. It's the same thing. Well, it's like an upside down grill. I consider it a roast because the flames go out and heat the meat from the top. It's reverse roasting. I mean, it's really hot, and it's a good way to cook thinner pieces of meat because it's such a high temperature. Yeah, look your grill, dog. Look at your grill, dog. I know. I'm. This is the first go round. This is why I'm doing this, so that I can. But see, the other way. Otherwise, it's like this, and it's still awkward. And then this camera looks stupid. I need more knives. I have way more knives. Hang on. Actually, I'm gonna try one thing. Is that bad? I don't think that's bad, right? Nice ambiance. Anyways. Um, so yeah, a marinade is a wet way to incorporate flavor into your meat, or you can marinate vegetables as well, like before you cook them, or if the oh shit, yeah, I see that. Oh well, I'll fix it all up after the stream. Yeah, so you can marinate vegetables, you can marinate meat, you can marinate anything really, any protein. It's just a very usually acidic mixture flavored with herbs, and usually with some fat, so olive oil, etc., etc. A brine is a mostly salt solution with a bit of sugar used to flavor meat. So it's usually 1 part salt to 1 part sugar to like 3 or 4 parts water. And you submerge whatever meat that you're brining overnight, usually 5 or 6 hours. Take it out, dry it off, and then cook it. So all that salt and all that sugar like infuse into the meat and make it taste really nice when it's cooked. And a cure is basically a brine without the water. So it's like it's a dry salt, sugar, usually some sort of spice is ground up in that. And yeah, does the same exact thing, imparts a bunch of flavor. Yeah, that's the thing about turkey. If you brine a whole turkey, well, actually, my favorite way to cook turkey is to break it all down and then cook the legs separately and then the breasts separately. And then use like the wings and stuff for the gravy and make like a really nice thick saucy gravy. But like a whole brine turkey does cook up really nicely. That is very true. And we're not actually going to cook anything tonight. Tonight is this is like a test, pretty much like a test stream to see if I can get this set up to work. I have a little bit of some more work to do, but I was just going over all of the stuff in this document and kind of just getting into the groove, making sure the scenes all work. And yeah, no cooking tonight. But here, I'll give you this. Let's go to dropping box. All right, here is the cut up something. Yeah. Actually, maybe we'll do a little knife demo. How about that? What's up, Gian? So this is basically like the entire first few episodes of things that we're going to be doing. It's going to start out really rudimentary and then move into something a bit more technical. But here, let's see what we have to cut up. All right. Is that it? My jokes aren't even cutting it? That's funny. That's gonna be this, right? Okay, cool. So let's go over some like different cuts of things. So one thing I always carry in my chef coat pocket is a peeler, a Y peeler. I feel like it's the best kind. Do a couple carrots, get a little apple action going. Yum, apples and carrots. Delicious. Alright. Another thing. Here's a good example of why deli trays are so useful. And I totally said this in the beginning and didn't do it myself. But look. So deli trays down. that's the only. I mean, that's all the refuse, right? So this just goes bye-bye. And your station stays really nice. Oh, the one of the worst cuts I've ever seen in the kitchen is from a peeler. Little snack for the chef. Mmm. Yummy. So, what are we doing first? Brunoise? Okay, so I always take one side of the carrot off. Sorry, I'm so used to just eating stuff like as I'm prepping. Very, very thin slice of carrot. Stack the slices again. So this would be like a really, like we used to do this at RN74 for like garnishes for things. You get like a really small dice. And that's called Brunoise. So you can see if it focuses in. No, not going to. Anyways, so that would be good. If you did this in like leek tops, bit of celery, and then blanched it very quickly. So just cooked it in boiling salted water very, very quickly. And then added it into a sauce for like color, texture, really good stuff. Make some cereal. We can make like granola or something at some point. So you're just looking for like really small uniform pieces. I don't know why this camera's doing this. Maybe more like. What? Stop being ghosty. I think it's because I have things in the foreground. Let me remedy that situation. Deli tray making a comeback. All right. So then basically you can use the same process to make any size dice you want, right? So go a little bigger. All right, so this would be a bâtonnet. French fries. So then even up the ends. So then you have a nice, even, kind of a medium dice. This would definitely be a medium dice. And then you can extrapolate that into, obviously, like larger than that. What else? Bâtonnet, yeah. Oh, bias. Bias is good. Okay, so cut this guy. This is one example of bias. Usually you'd use a smaller carrot and just kind of roll it and cut it like that. But these are like, you know, so you can have like nice little pieces that look a little bit more interesting than just sliced carrots. And this also allows you to take a large carrot piece and kind of break it down into very similar pieces so that it cooks evenly. Yeah, we'll go over holding the knife here in a second. I just want to show you guys some cuts. Another way that you can cut things on the bias is just kind of like I said. This cut works really well with celery. They have these nice like U shapes and stuff. But that's another example of bias cut. Lots of angles. We're making dough. I'm just eating carrots like a fiend. Alright, you bring up a good point. Let's go over handling a knife. One of the most important things. Oh, I'm using my laptop to stream. Yeah, this is my whole setup. So my sound card lives at my house, and I am not there. I'm at my parents' right now. Good ears, though. Okay, great. So, holding your knife. Never make this mistake. Don't baseball it. You have no control over, like, if you're trying to slice something really nicely, you have no control over the pitch of the knife. So what you want to do, put your thumb on the outside edge like this. There should be like a nice little dip in your knife, right? Put your thumb right in there until it feels really comfortable. And then you want to pinch the blade. And I kind of like sandwich my finger back into the other groove. And then just this is all you need to hold a knife, really. It's just that grip. And then I don't know why it would have been out already, Ben, but anyways, then you can just kind of rest your other fingers down along the handle. And let's talk about different ways to cut with a knife. So this would be a slice, right? We all know how to slice. Do we all know how to eat some apple? Ooh, yummy. All right. So always put the tip down first, and always move in a downward direction, kind of pushing forward. Unless, no, that's always a way to cut things. So then, when the blade is moving through the object, you get the cleanest cut possible. I mean, you see some people like doing this thing, but how many times do you think you're gonna run into this and just cut your finger? I've definitely done it a few times. Not worth it. Not worth it. I mean, you do get like pretty thin slices, but if you get good enough at this, you can get just as thin. And obviously, if I was like working service, I would go a lot faster than this. But just for showmanship's sake. Okay, so then chopping. Let's do it like this. Chopping is where you don't really slide the knife that much. I like to call this the TV chop, or like the TV cut. Right? You're going up and down, making sure to always keep your fingers, and especially your fingernails, behind your first knuckle. You call this the claw, so that the knife is never, ever gonna come down on you like this. If you're like this, you'll only cut your knuckles if you're going like this, and then so. As an example. All right. And then, sorry, I didn't really eat dinner. I'm very hungry. So then, depending on what you're making, you'll use different cuts of vegetables as far as like, maybe you're making like an apple salad. Well, nobody wants like a big chunk of apple in their apple salad, right? So that that really nice like super small slice is going to be the way to go. But if you're doing roasted apples, like you can't you can't really properly roast this piece of apple, right? There's no way. So then maybe maybe then pieces like this would go really nicely, in like a roasting pan, or whatever you want to do with those. Maybe a little peanut butter, maybe a little in your mouth. And then something to always think about when using a knife is keeping it dry and clean. And after every few tasks, using your honing steel. And the best way... Oh no, this camera's all wonky. What did I do? Get this garbage out of here. So, using your honing steel, I like to hold mine like this. But you can also do it like this on your cutting board. Is to hold the knife about, well, whatever angle of the blade is. I think on mine it's like 40 on each side, so it's very, very, very sharp. Is to mimic that angle on the steel, and then just use an even amount of strokes on each side. And again, that'll keep your edge maintained during your day. So you don't have to sharpen your knife every time, obviously, but keeping it maintained is definitely the way to go.